Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight. This is the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock or a related genre and tell you guys my impressions of it and recommend it and see if it's something you guys want to check out. So these are always my favorite shows to do on the channel because it's my chance to get to tell you guys about the things that have been really exciting me lately and to really share things and to see people in the comments come across various recommendations and be able to explore new music that they hadn't heard before. So it's always a really cool experience, and today I've got a really fun album to talk about. This is Arjen Lucassen's Supersonic Revolution and the album Golden Age of Music. Arjen Lucassen is a figure that's pretty well known in the modern prog scene. He's been the force that's put together the Arjen project, which he writes and composes and puts together. He brings a whole host of different musicians and singers on board to do these big, expansive rock operas. That's really what I love from Arjen Lucassen and his best work for me. Into the Electric Castle, Universal Migrator, The Human Equation. All of these albums are just classics for me that tell really cool sci-fi stories and concepts. He also does the Star One albums, which are more based on different movies and science fiction. Each track is basically covering a different movie, and he brings aboard a couple different artists to collaborate with on those, and those are much more in a progressive metal style vein, whereas the Arjen stuff is more progressive rock with a little bit of metal leanings. But this new album is something completely different from those, where he took a whole new approach. He actually formulated a band that plays on the whole record, just one solid group of musicians, rather than having all of the different guest stars and guest musicians and a different vocalist in every track and all that kind of stuff. No, it's a very solidified, specific lineup that's playing this, and Arjen Lucassen himself is part of it, but he's playing bass, so really interesting that the main lifting of the band, you know, the different soloing and all of the other stuff is done by these other band members. You've got keyboardist Juice Vanderbroek, who's been a collaborator with Arjen a lot in the past, so it's not surprising to see him here. Guitarist Timo Soomers, drummer Cohen Hurst, and singer J.C. Culpers. This is the solid lineup here, and also it's not quite progressive rock or progressive metal as you'd expect from his other projects. This is more in this like 70s hard rock style. You know, you get a bit of that glam metal type sound, that early style. Deep Purple, Uriah Heep is really the reference, but done with a lot more crunch and power. You almost can feel this bordering on power metal perhaps as well. So it has a lot of rocking out, a lot of fun, and that's really my takeaway from the album, is that it's a fun diversion for Arjen Lucassen. It doesn't, to me, reach the heights of like his Arjen projects and all of the fascinating storytelling and different instrumentation and styles that he's doing in those records, but it's not meant to be that. You know, this is meant to be more of a fun record that really celebrates the history of this style of music, of 70s hard rock and glam. And in fact, the tracks are littered with references to that, both musical and lyrically, and that's just the band having fun with it. They're having fun just exploring their favorite artists from the 70s and giving cheeky nods and references to the things that they love and grew up with. So if that's your style, if you're a fan of that kind of music and appreciate the little references and fun nods to the past, I think you're going to really dig this, you know. It's just fun to listen to an album where you can tell the musicians are just having a blast and just playing what they want to play and not really restricted to like, oh, we got to make this artistic statement and we got to do something different and outside the mold. No, this is right in the mold that they're looking for. This is that 70s hard rock style that they're really embodying, and there's tons of Hammond organ all over the place. That's one of my favorite bits of the album, is all of the Hammond organ that's sprinkled throughout and provides such cool textures and layers and brings that, evokes that spirit of the classic era that they're looking to evoke. And some incredible guitar work as well, and the bass and drum foundation is really fantastic. and of course some incredible soaring vocals that are really strong and solid. So it's just a solid release. It starts out with SR Prelude, which is some really good funky electronic synths that really give you an impression of what you're about to experience. It's a great intro and opening to the record. You got a couple of cool opening tracks here. The Glam Attack has a really cool power-driven 70s hard rock feel with all those references to the likes of Alice Cooper and David Bowie. Golden Age of Music is a really cool, just great soaring song with a great chorus and a driving beat and that great Hammond in the background. Rise of the Starman opens with some great, almost Brian May inspired guitars, and then some Deep Purple like power is added as it goes along, and you even hear a little sample of David Bowie's 5 Years at the end, really bringing home the message of this track. Of course, the Rise of the Starman referencing David Bowie and his Ziggy Stardust character. Burn It Down is very much classic Deep Purple type vibe. You can almost hear the references to Smoke on the Water as well on this track. Just some really intense, cool trading guitar and organ soloing towards the second half. Odyssey is probably my favorite track on the record. I think it has some beautiful guitars that start this one on a more spacey note. You get a little bit, after some really harder driving songs, it's kind of a cool respite, but then of course about 2.5 minutes in, you get back to this heavier feel with some more metal style guitars and screaming synths and some really cool instrumental sections. So really fun track that just gallops along at a great pace, and there's just more fun to be had with all the different tracks. They Took Us by Storm is a really great fun driving track with some crunchy organ soloing. Golden Boy has a bit of a dramatic flair and keeps the 70s upbeat rock type style. Holy Holy Ground is another really great highlight of the record that starts a bit at a slower pace, a bit more of a laid-back groove, a bit almost of a power ballad lamenting the loss of 70s era music. It's just really, really well done and really pays great homage to the past and the artists that they're trying to talk about here. And then it ends with two really cool high-octane rockers, Fight of the Century and Came to Mock, Stayed to Rock. And the latter of those, Came to Mock, Stayed to Rock, opens in a really interesting way with some almost jazzy, bluesy acoustic guitar before it backs up to some more familiar territory with some heavier crunch and power to end the record with. So all in all, just a fun blast of a record. Definitely you could argue that it stays in a very similar lane. There isn't much variety. It's all very much in the same similar style all throughout, which is a little bit different than some of Arjen's other projects where he explores different sides of progressive metal and progressive rock. This is really just centered in one lane, and so that could be my main criticism of it, if there is one, is that it's just a little bit one note and a little bit doesn't have enough variety to keep my interest throughout in a lot of ways, but it's just such a fun listen that I can forgive that aspect to it, because every song has some cool driving riff and some great organ soloing and some great dramatic vocals that keeps my attention and just makes for this to be a fun journey. And it comes with a couple bonus tracks, some bonus covers that they've done. Children of the Revolution from T-Rex, Heard It on the X from ZZ Top, Fantasy by Earth, Wind & Fire, and Love Is All by Roger Glover. In fact, I've heard that the ZZ Top cover is actually what sparked this project, that Arjen was asked to do a ZZ Top cover, and so he assembled a group of musicians and assembled this cover, and he ended up loving the project so much that they decided to make a full album with that lineup. So really cool that that's what sparked this really cool project. And these tracks are a lot of fun and exactly what you'd expect, you know, the Supersonic Revolution amped up versions of these classic songs. The one that's most interesting to me is Fantasy by Earth, Wind & Fire, because of how much they turn it on its head and turn it into this like power metal anthem, and it's a really fun track. So if you're into that, definitely one to check out and enjoy. But that's really what I have for you guys, a really fun album that's fun all the way through. Kind of reminds me of the feeling I had after the previous Star One album, Revel in Time, where I had a lot of fun with it. It didn't like blow up my the top year-end rankings or anything like that, but it was just a solid, fun, enjoyable experience. And Arjen does that once again with another fun album that's just a joy to experience and listen to. I can imagine this being a fun driving record to just rock out to as you drive through the countryside. You know, it's one of those types of classic albums, and if you're eager and searching for something like that harkens back to the heyday of 70s rock, then this could be very well for you. So thank you guys so much once again for joining me, and I hope you guys just keep enjoying the music out there, whatever you got going on. All right, see you guys later. Bye.